Hello everyone, this is Stepan and welcome to Hanging Pawns. I'm gonna go over a game played in round 11 of this year's Tata Steel Tournament held in Vaikanze, and it was played between Viswanathan Anand and Hou Yifan. Anand had the white pieces and he opened with 1 c4, the English opening. We have e6, the Asian core defense by Hou Yifan, knight c3, d5, d4 and knight f6. Now after knight f6 the position transposes to a classical queen's gambit declined, and we have cd5, the exchange queen's gambit declined. I think this transposition is instructive because many beginner players often fixate on the opening they're playing and they know well and get confused when it transposes or don't even realize that it has transposed to something else in the first place. It's important to understand positions which could occur from the first move you choose to play. And in this case, Anand opened with the English and the game could have taken several different theoretical parts of the English, but it ended up being a well-trodden Queen's Gambit Declined instead. Of course, Anand, being the ex-world champion and the strong GM, was prepared, but perhaps lower level players would be taken by surprise and maybe even play the theoretical mistake a few moves later. I digress, but I'd like to highlight the understanding of transpositions and not being limited to knowing just one thing or one opening and being afraid of others. I'd advise you to try thinking about positions during your games and how they are similar to other openings and why. You could then often come up with ideas of exploiting that to your advantage and even achieve positions in which you're a tempo or several tempi up for free. But anyway, back to the game. We have knight takes d5 and Anand plays e4, expanding in the center. Now this even resembles some Grunfeld positions, but the pawn is not on g6. We have knight takes c3, b takes c3 and c5. Hou Yifan immediately tries to disrupt white's formidable central pawn structure. We have rook b1, keeping the tension in the center and developing a piece. Bishop to e7, knight to f3, castles, bishop to c4, getting the bishop to an active square, knight to c6, and white castles as well. And here we have b6. Hou Yifan is planning to put the bishop on the long diagonal and immediately pressuring the weak e4 pawn indirectly. Bishop e3, bishop to b7, queen to e2, c takes d4, c takes d4, of course, taking with the pawn, not taking with the piece and weakening your pawn structure. Rook to c8, rook f to d1, queen to c7. Now the white bishop is indirectly attacked. And d5, a hyper-aggressive move by Anand, opening up the position and highlighting the fact that white is able to create a pass d pawn much quicker than black will be able to get his queenside majority, d8 and the b pawn going and becoming dangerous. Hou Yifan responds with knight to e5. We have bishop to b5, getting the bishop out of danger and placing it to a square from which it will defend the squares for the d pawn to march through to queening. E takes d5. E takes d5, again of course taking with the pawn, not losing the exchange. Knight takes f3, check, exchanging a pair of knights, queen f3, and bishop c5. Anand plays rook b to c1, pinning the bishop to the queen, and we have queen to e7. And here the position is a bit better for white if you consider material, but what's much better than in black's position is that white has a clear plan. It's not that clear what Hou Yifan should do here, and Anand has a simple plan of pushing his d pawn. It's simple as that. White has to stop that. And every time you have to defend and prevent your opponent's attacking plans, you suffer in developing your own attacking ideas. That's why engines perform much better, because the human stress factor doesn't exist. We have bishop to f4, declining the trade and setting up the other bishop perfectly for the further advance of the pawn. We have bishop to d6, creating a blockade. As Nimzowitsch would say, a passed pawn should be put under lock and key and stopped immediately. Bishop to c6. We have bishop takes f4, queen f4, bishop takes c6, and d takes c6, getting the d pawn, now c pawn, one step closer to promoting. But black didn't really have a better option than this. We have queen to c7, blocking the pawn and initiating a queen trade, and Anand declines with a remarkable move, rook to d6, preventing the trade and adding additional support for his most valuable asset at the moment in the game. We have rook c to d8, trying to exchange a pair of rooks, doubling rooks, h6, getting some loft for the king, and g3, defending the queen and preventing any tactics if the d6 rook moves. Now it's free to move. We have rook d6, and rook c8. which isn't really attacking the pawn twice since the queen is the first attacker, so he can't take it. Queen e5, and here Hou Yifan gets desperate, and the position is hopeless anyway. From a position of absolute equality, with equal material and prospects, the pass d pawn created so much havoc that Anand is completely winning here. And an engine wouldn't have been as afraid as Hou Yifan. Is the human factor that made her dedicate all her attention to preventing the d pawn from moving and thus neglecting to create any threats of her own, which could have definitely made the game more interesting and given her some chance of at least drawing the game, if not winning. And she plays b5, which is, I don't know the meaning of this move, it's completely useless. We have queen d5, not taking the pawn, of course, increasing his positional advantage. King to h7, again, nothing move. Queen to e4 check, king retreats to g8, and the killer blow, rook d7. Now, the queen, of course, can't take the pawn on c6, because if queen c6, we would have rook to d8, and if rook takes d8, queen takes c6, so just a queen up. So Hou Yifan played queen e5, queen a5, I'm sorry, and Anand simply plays c7. Here, of course, the rook can't take on c7 because rook d8 would be mate in 1, and we have queen e7 just after rook f8. I'm sorry, she played rook f8, again a nothing move, and Anand plays queen e7. And here Hou Yifan resigned. It's hopeless, and white is winning material whatever she does. A sample variation would be, let's say, king to h7, just doing something. We would have a rook to d8 and rook to h8. I mean, you can't trade because c takes d would be queening. Rook takes, king takes, and just promoting to a queen. White is definitely going to be a queen up or a rook up, so she resigned. This was definitely a very instructive game, which teaches us that our threats are a very powerful weapon, and that if our opponent starts being aware of them and starts thinking only of how to prevent them, in many cases that will lead to his downfall, because he will not be able to create any threats of his own, thus making our life much easier and giving us a free hand in the game, as Hou Yifan gave a free hand to Anand in this game. Alright everyone, I hope you liked this game, thanks for watching, and see you soon, bye bye.